Hello, and welcome to another episode of Reading Reddit with Amber. I'm Amber.
And I'm Amber too.
This is Brian. And today...
That's a lie.
And today we are going to be reading some Reddit stories for you.
Why won't she let me be Amber? I wanted to be Amber last time, and this is Reading Reddit with Amber, but she refused. Vote in the comments if you want me to be Amber.
If you want to be Amber, you get to read 2 stories instead of just the one. I'll pick really, really long stories for you.
Wow, that's rude.
Sorry.
Amber actually felt bad about that for a second.
I wasn't even being serious, but I was just... All right. Our first story today is, am I the jerk for hiding food from my husband and lying about it? I am a 30-something lady living with my husband who's a 30-something male. I am over 100 pounds lighter than him, and there is a big overall size difference, so I do acknowledge that he just needs more food than me and is more hungry. He eats a lot at once at meals and then waits for our next meal, where I usually eat little bits over the day because my stomach starts to hurt if I try to eat too much all at once. Why is that a problem? Because I can't keep any food to myself, and sometimes I want to have things I prepared. I just need more time than he does to get to it, so it's always gone. I usually cook big meals and have a small bit myself and then enough for leftovers. Usually all the leftovers are gone before 24 hours, so I didn't have time to go back. This makes me kind of annoyed when I spend a lot of time on a meal that I was looking forward to, but could only eat a small amount at dinner and hoping to go back for more later. There's never anything left. It makes me feel like I don't get to enjoy the product of my effort because I put a lot of time in planning and grocery trips into planning meals, and I just kind of hope to get more than a little bit just because I need a few hours between servings and he doesn't. He does the same thing with treats. If I buy ice cream or some muffins, or with things like beer that I want to enjoy, I try to buy extra so he won't take my share, but he always does and claims that I took too long, whether that means 5 hours or a whole day.
You took too long. Now your beer's all gone.
I'm starting to feel like I need to stuff myself sick just to make sure I get my food that I want. But the other factor is he did have food insecurity growing up. I never did in my life, so I am empathetic and didn't want to call him out. So I just started hiding some snacks in my work desk and in a kitchen cupboard he doesn't use. I just want to feel like when I'm hungry, I have access to some things I planned and bought, or something even spent half a day cooking, even if I eat slow and it takes me a few days to go through them all and not all at once. I like knowing that it's there when I'm hungry later. But he found out about the hidden food, and he has a lot of valid feelings. He feels like I'm calling him a glutton. I'm not. He feels insecure. He also felt like I should have just talked to him, but I didn't because I know it drops his self-esteem to mention it. We have had a few conversations about it in the past, so I thought maybe I can work around it. I feel like I should get to have more of my snacks and food, but I also know he is bad at regulating his own eating, and so often just gets suddenly too hungry to wait. But maybe my hiding food was very insulting to him. Did I respond to this immaturely, aka as a jerk? I'm gonna say OP's not the jerk here.
You know, I think that OP was trying to stow away food because squirrel away her supply of food, because in this case it was kind of warranted. It's kind of like your dynamic and my dynamic. I ate all the food.
No, you don't. Well, I wanted to cover this one with Brian because we have a similar stomach capacity. So I'm like OP in that I can only eat a tiny little bit at meals. And Brian, we'll start out with the same meal, but then he'll add on like, oh, I'm going to have a banana and a bunch of peanuts and like all this stuff. And so like...
Really laying in all the whole unhealthy foods there.
So he just will like eat so much more food than me. But the way we handle it is because he can eat more food, he can eat more of the foods in general. So if there's something that I really want, we will set it aside and, you know, we don't have to write names on it or something like that. But that is something that OP could potentially do if there's something she really wants. She could try, like, writing her name on it and, like, reserving it for herself. But we just, like, designate this thing as Amber's and have a certain amount of time to eat it in. Because unlike OP, I will sometimes just take too long period, and then it's like, this chocolate has been sitting there for a month.
Yeah.
And so...
Well, and on that, I mean, there isn't like a hard and fast deadline on the amount of time. I just am like, hey, this chocolate's been sitting here for like a year in the freezer. Do you think you want it anymore?
And I'll, at that point in time, just relinquish it. But, so... I think here it sounds like Opie has tried to have conversations with her partner and that the conversational route hasn't worked in the past. If he is having food insecurity issues or is just really bad at impulse control, then it may be worth talking to a therapist. But certainly Opie should be able to have food in her own home that is hers.
Well, of course, yeah. And I think that's a big thing is like if he has this much problem with like regulating his control mechanisms for making sure that he's not stealing all the food from his wife, like that signals to me that there's something deeper wrong here and potentially even some harmful, maybe self-destructive type behavior. And like food insecurity is something that's really hard to get over. And as a child, like if you don't have a lot of food, then you suddenly find yourself in food heaven all the time. I guess that probably was something that it would be difficult to kind of like, regulate around it and whatnot.
Yeah, well, and I didn't have food insecurity growing up, but my siblings and I would fight each other over the snack food. My mom is not a particularly good cook, and so we would just want to eat junk food all the time. And so there was kind of like this rivalry, and we'd have these like competitions to determine who got what food. And so I have, to this day, these weird food jealousy issues.
She does have food jealousy issues. If I'm eating like a snack, then we have plenty of this snack in the house. It's not like I've eaten the last little bit of it. I could just be eating like this little snack and she'll be staring at it like jealousy.
The cat or the dog, like when you're eating something, like I'm just like sitting there like.
And I'm like, do you want it? And she's like, no, I'm too full. And she just sits there being jealous of the fact that I'm eating something.
Yeah, I just don't have that kind of stomach capacity.
All right, our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Getting Annoyed That My Fiance Won't Just Smile for a Picture Instead of Making a Stupid Gaping Mouth Face? My fiance makes this really stupid face in pictures. Smile big, but with your mouth closed, and then just let your jaw hang open. It's awkward. It's this awkward, weird cross between a smile and gaping mouth. Sometimes he just opens his mouth really wide without a smile, and it looks super, shocked, excited. He only does it sometimes, though. Before we start taking pictures, I asked him if we could just try to make sure that these were nice pictures so we could share them. We got the cameras ready, and he makes the face. I asked him if he could smile regularly, and he got all pouty, saying, "That's no fun," and "Come on, lighten up." I just got really frustrated because we took about 5 pictures with that stupid face. I even made the face with him, thinking it would get him to do a normal one, but he refused. I got really frustrated and asked him why he was doing this. Does he not want to make an announcement, etc.? And he said he did, but he just doesn't get why it was wrong showing a little personality while he did it. I said that we don't have many nice pictures of us other than ones at other weddings, where he's not making that face. So can we just get one? And if it's so important to him, he can just send the one of us making that face together to his friends and family, and I'll send the other one out to mine. He said that was stupid. I finally said, fine, we'll just send out an old picture from someone's wedding or something where we actually look nice. He told me I was being hypersensitive and it shouldn't matter so much what other people think. And I said it's not about what other people think, it's about what I think. Maybe I went too far, but I said if you can't even just pose for a few pictures with a normal face instead of looking like you're a drunk frat guy waiting for someone to put someone's
hot dog
in your mouth, maybe you're not mature enough to get married yet. He said I overreacted big time and is mad at me for the whole hot dog in your mouth comment. I asked him what that face is supposed to be, since it's obvious it's not a smile. Am I a jerk?
I'm going to say no. It sounds like these are to go with their wedding announcements.
Yeah.
And,
Well, okay. So I think having ones with him doing the face is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And
as part of the set of pictures
they're taking. As part
taking.
of the set of pictures. But, I mean, at a certain point, like, if every single picture, like, yeah, like, sometimes it's fun to make funny faces in pictures, but you also have to know the limit to that, too. It's not like every single picture of yours has to be a funny picture, right?
Right. Well, and we have that happen all the time with us when we go take a picture. I love taking pictures. Brian is not as much a fan of pictures, but he'll put up with them for me.
Which is surprising, seeing as how I'm on camera every day.
And I'll ask him for some nice ones, and we'll get some nice ones, and then he can just be zany in the rest of them.
Yeah.
And so it's a nice little compromise. So that, I think, is the issue here, is that OP's fiance is not willing to compromise at all. I think doing the, basically split, do half with him and doing the face and then the other, like, normal smiles is, like, a great compromise.
Yeah, well, I think it's a good compromise, and I think he's the one who's not compromising here.
Exactly.
And I think he's the one who's, I think, OP kind of hit the nail on the head here. He's acting immature. And he's clearly mature enough at other people's weddings and other times to take regular pictures. And he clearly knows that there's a time and place for this kind of thing. And so my question is, why does he seem so insecure about taking these, announcement photos, these engagement photos? And that's really what this seems like. It seems like some kind of, insecurity here. And, like, maybe that's something that he needs to work through, that they need to work through together. Maybe he has some deeper underlying feelings going on that he just doesn't even know really how to express. And, like, maybe making these faces helps him to alleviate some of the pressure off of the situation, because, I mean, marriage is a serious thing, especially to a lot of people. It's a life-changing moment for a lot of folks. And so what I kind of think is happening here is he's trying to put a little levity into it because of his feelings, and he feels how uncomfortable he feels in the situation. And maybe I'm just reading too much into it.
No, I don't think that's definitely a possibility. I mean, it does definitely seem like he's either trying not to do these photos or trying to be so silly that he doesn't have to think about what's going on with them. So I could see that.
Yeah, it seems purposely disruptive.
Yeah.
It seems like I just think he's probably self-conscious, and there's a lot of pressure and stress on this situation, and it might just be really hard for him to deal with it.
Our last story for today is, am I the jerk for just staying in my pajamas after my mom stole my clothes and told me to just wear my sister's clothes? I'm a 16-year-old female, and I wear flannel shirts over t-shirts and jeans all the time. It's basically all I wear. My dad also always dresses like that. I'm not trying to copy him, it's just a coincidence that I also like to dress like this. I also look very similar to my dad. My twin sister looks much more like my mom. She also dresses in a more feminine way. My parents are divorced and they hate each other. My mom says that I remind her too much of him and it annoys her. She also thinks I'm not feminine enough. She wants me to dress more like my sister. When I woke up a few days ago, my entire dresser was gone except for some underwear. Like she just picked up the whole dresser and took it to her room. I asked my sister about it first and she just told me to ask Mom. I asked my mom and she said to borrow my sister's clothes. My sister only wears dresses and other girly clothes, which I hate. I just stayed in my pajamas all day. When Mom got home from work, she yelled at me for being a slob. I said that I would wear these pajamas until she gave me back my clothes. If you want to know why I didn't just get the clothes, I'm not allowed in my mom's room and it's locked all the time. That was on a Tuesday, today is Friday, and she gave me my clothes back today. From Tuesday until Thursday, I just showered, then put those same clothes back on. My mom says I'm a stubborn brat and I'm purposely trying to annoy her by dressing like my dad. Am I the jerk? I'm going to say no.
Well, yeah, I agree with you on this one. And I think really the key here is that she's not doing this to annoy her mom. She's not going out of her way to dress like her father. And I think that, for the mom here, things are probably still fresh. And I can certainly sympathize with her feelings of, being reminded of, OP's dad. But that doesn't justify her taking away the clothes.
Right. Well, these are OP's possessions. And I mean, teenagers have their own feelings and emotions, and sometimes they do want to be brats. So even if she had been dressing like her dad just to annoy her mom, I still don't think it would have warranted taking away her clothes.
No, I don't think it would have warranted it, but I can certainly still understand, like, why the mom would not want to be reminded of the dad.
Yeah. Well, but it's hard if you have kids with someone and your kids look like that person. Like, that's not going to change the resemblance. And it also seems like the mom wants her to be more feminine and doesn't like that she has a more masculine style. And, like, kids are going to be their own people. So they may like more feminine things or more masculine things or just a variety of things. And you gotta let them be their own people.
Yeah, well, I think it's important for her to allow her to discover herself and allow her to, pick her preferences and things like that. And, like, if the mom really feels like there's some underlying issue on why she's dressing like this, maybe, she's being bullied or something like that at school, and so she chooses to dress this way because she's being bullied, then that's a separate matter to address entirely. But, like, again, forcing her to dress a certain way or trying to force her to dress a certain way is completely out of line. It's not called for.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think OP handled this in a completely appropriate way by just continuing to wear her clothes. And so I think she's definitely in the right there, and Mom is not. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider giving it a like or letting me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.